and 105.3 WWL FM.
From the sports giant of the Gulf South, the Big 870 WWL New Orleans, 105.3 WWL FM Kenner, New Orleans, and WWL.com, it's Draft Fest 2006. Brought to you by Lance. Put Lance in your pants. The Louisiana Lottery, your local Toyota dealer, and a Greco, anytime, anywhere, for any situation. Also by Budweiser, the Spa Shop, Firestone, the Zephyrs, JRS Tents, and by Acadian Ambulance, Louisiana Coca-Cola Bottling Company, your New Orleans Saints, and River Parish Disposal. Now, let's go live to Zephyr Field and Draft Fest 2006. Here are WWL's Cajun Cannon, Bobby Hebert, draft analyst Mike Detillier, Saints color analyst Hokie Gaijon, and Kenny Wilkerson.
No question about it. He's a player that was the first-rated player on our board, and you know, anything can happen. You know, we're not going to promise anything with this pick other than he's our guy right now. I mean, there's so much he gives you as an offense, and in the receiving end of it, in the running end of it, he's explosive, he's dynamic, he catches the ball well, he's intelligent, he's got great character. He's exactly what we're looking for in regards to the type of player. Forget the position for a minute. The type of player that we would like to be a part of this organization, and we keep emphasizing that and talking about that as we acquire players. Each one of them we look for a certain amount of responsibility, character, all the things that I think win games for you, and that's been kind of our charge this offseason, and we'll continue to use that through this draft. And so all of a sudden we have this decision to make with Reggie Bush, and we're giddy about it.
Head coach Sean Payton a short time ago in the draft preview with Jim Henderson and Hokie Gaijon, they will select Reggie Bush. Reggie, 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 Reggie. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Draft Fest 2006. Well, folks, has there ever been a bigger day, and has there ever been a more displaced person in Houston? For what it's worth, Houston's misfortune or brain damage is New Orleans' golden opportunity to select a player that brings not only star power, the likes of which this city has never seen, it also means a player with ability on the field, the likes of which the entire country has never seen. And I truly believe in my heart that our buddy, everyone's buddy, had a big hand in urging the Texans to give the Saints and the city the player that will ignite the community. So as Buddy would say, with that said, Buddy, here's to you. Buddy, 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 buddy. Buddy, 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 buddy. I once again have the honor and the privilege of sharing the stage with simply the best folks, my co-host and my friend Bobby Hebert. Our own Hokie Gaijon will be here shortly as we get him over from the Saints facility. And the best draft analyst in the business, Mike Detillier. All right, they're going to begin the draft here momentarily, I would think, up in New York. How fast, when they did
11,
Carr...
11-10.
Okay,
well, 11-10.
When in 02, when the Texans had already made the agreement with Carr, I think Tagliabue came up and said, welcome to the 02 draft. The Texans are on the clock. He walked away, walked right back up and said they select David Carr. Mike, I would think that's what we're going to see today.
And you're going to see a little bit of dog and pony show, but Kenny, one of the best headlines, and if anybody's got a chance to get a Houston Chronicle, splashed across the front page, they have stupidity. Stupidity. And believe me, from doing a couple talk shows late last night and this morning, if Charlie Casserly doesn't get out of town fast, he's in for a lot of trouble. And believe me, this is a godsend to have Reggie Bush basically put in your lap, opportunity to pick, in my opinion, the best running back I've seen come out in my 21 years.
Bobby, they say in Houston all over last night and this morning, this was strictly a football decision.
BS.
If that's the case, why do you not take the best football player to come around in the last maybe 20 years?
Well, I usually try and think in common sense terms, and I guess they don't have common sense people. You know, you're basically looking at it. I mean, only a few times in my life where you get goosebumps, or you say in French, frissons. Here I'm looking at all of y'all getting all fired up. I mean, Reggie Bush is going to give us all frissons when he steps on that field. You know, I tell you what, we're going to be looking at, in the 40-year history of the Saints, the most popular Saint, nothing taken against Archie Manning or anybody, but I'm telling you what, go and get your number 5 jersey, because Reggie Bush is the man.
Mike, Sean Payton said earlier, you were inside, I was in there too, that they're going to take him. There's no question about it. I would think that when they do get on the clock, and this is what's been talked about, that they will entertain and they'll listen. Okay, if anybody was going to put together that monster of a deal to get him, wouldn't they have already been trying to have done that with Houston?
That's what I said. And so, again, at this point, you never know until the final moments. You go back to the Eli Manning deal. That didn't happen. I know you and I did it that particular weekend. It didn't happen until basically minutes after the Giants in San Diego selected Eli Manning. So there's still that possibility. But believe me, it would take an awful lot for me not to get that opportunity to pick Reggie Bush.
Folks, Archie Manning is on the line with us here on WWL AM and FM. Arguably one of the most popular Saints of all time. And Archie, when this news came out, thank you very much for joining us on Draft Fest. First of all, how are you?
Oh, doing fine, thanks.
What are your thoughts on this, that they're going to be able to get this guy?
Well, I think it's exciting. He's a great player. He can do a lot for an offense. I mean, he can do a lot for a franchise. He can do a lot for this franchise right now as far as creating some excitement, sell tickets. He needs help. I was looking at the Picayune this morning, and is Mike there? Is Mike T with y'all? I wasn't sure who was on with you there.
Yeah, I'm here, Arch.
Oh, anyway, Mike, I was just looking at the roster this morning. I thought it was a good layout by the Picayune on kind of who the Saints have, their depth, this, and I kind of came away from it saying, boy, we sure need a lot of players. And, we just don't have starters in position in enough spots right there. So Reggie Bush can do a lot, create a lot of excitement. We still need help on this football team. And also, it looks like to me his agent blew it. That's what
Bob, I agree
Mike,
completely, Arch.
My understanding was, I heard from a pretty good source earlier this morning that they asked for 20% more than what Alex Smith got last year, which that's just, it's ridiculous. You got, the quarterback position gets more money, and he tries to get 20% more than that. He wasn't even on the earth, and so the Houston did the smart thing. And even though the Saints got to be excited about the possibility of getting a Reggie Bush, it's got to be a little bit of a disappointment right there, because I think they really were set on getting Mario Williams.
I agree. For a long time, Arch, I was on this radio station saying, I think this team should pick Mario Williams. Everybody said, you overrated him. He's not that good. Yesterday, everybody was telling me, I told you they would get Reggie Bush. Mario was going to be the top pick, so it goes to show you. But I agree with you. There are a lot of needs on this football club. I think the one good thing with Reggie is he's been in a system where he shared the limelight with another back.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to football fans here and around the nation. And welcome to Radio City Music Hall here in New York City and to the 2006 National Football League College Draft. Thank you for being here. With the first choice in the 2006 NFL Draft, we have the Houston Texans now on the clock. Now on the clock.
All right, so the Houston Texans now on the clock. He'll come right back up shortly and say that they have taken Mario Williams, and then he will also come right back shortly after that and say that they have taken Reggie Bush. The word is out of New York. The card already says from the Saints, Reggie Bush. Archie, we're going to keep you just for a second or two more. Again, a great day for the city, and I know that when it comes to rebuilding this community, bringing in a player with this type of star power, not to mention his athletic ability, it's just going to blow this place up.
Well, it is. It's exciting, and it'll be a real shot in the arm in a lot of ways. The ball club, we need people in seats next year. We need people in the boxes. We need sponsors. It's a lot. It's a big part of the recovery. The Superdome coming back, the Saints coming back, and it's going to be hard. And I think it's a big shot in the arm. And the fact that I think our new coach is an offensive guy. I think he'll be creative in a way. That's what you got to do. It's going to take a lot of that for Reggie Bush. He's not a guy, no matter where he is. I don't think in the NFL, Mike, that you're going to line him up at the tailback position and run him 28 times. He's going to, hopefully Deuce is going to be healthy, and he's the guy that's going to line up at the tailback spot. But you have Reggie Bush at tailback. You have him as another back. You have him in the slot. You have him as receiver. You have him returning punts, returning kicks. He can get a lot of yardage in a football game and create just so many headaches and problems in preparation for a Saints offense.
Arch, you were close, certainly, with the Giants organization because Eli was there. He is a little bit more explosive, a little faster back than Tiki Barber, but basically he is a very similar type player.
That might be a good comparison. And, of course, Tiki's better coming out of college. Tiki is one of these guys that's just improved his game. He's improved his strength, his toughness.
2006 NFL Draft. The Houston Texans select Mario Williams, defensive end, North Carolina State.
All right, there you go. There you go, Mario Williams. The New Orleans Saints now on the clock. Archie Manning, New Orleans' favorite son, thank you very much. It's, as you can well imagine, it is chaotic out here at Draft Fest. It is a monster crowd, and everybody all excited about Reggie Bush. We'll talk to you during the week when we can really visit and really kind of get in depth on a lot of things. Thank you, Archie.
Guys. All right, y'all have a great day.
Okay,
Take care,
thank you very much. Archie Manning, folks. All right, there he goes. All right, folks, Tagaloo, as he said, Mario Williams goes to North Carolina State. Mike, is he a sure bet? Is he a sure thing?
He is a sure thing. He is a sure. I'm telling you, Kenny, I said this from day one. We did the first show that, to me, he's the most physically imposing and best defensive end I've seen since Bruce Smith. Now, again, saying that, he was not my #1 rated player. Reggie Bush was.
But Mike, doesn't some games he doesn't come to play? Like, I seen him personally play against Boston College, and really he came on towards the end of the year, but the first half of the season they were saying that he wasn't playing up to his potential, because they've had, I think, 3 games last year when he didn't even have a sack. And you're not going to get a sack every game, right. But when you're thinking of a guy so dominating, I'm saying, when you say can't miss, I remember the Falcons thought Andre Bruce.
Yeah, but Andre Bruce was a can miss.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Here was a guy taking #1 overall, so.
But the work ethic's totally different.
Okay.
Work ethic's totally different, believe me. And listen, you've seen it with big men a lot of time, is that kind of hot and cold switch on a particular motor. But believe me, he's the real McCoy.
You know, Mike. They're still taking pictures, by the way. The New Orleans Saints on the clock, still taking pictures up in New York. They've just finished that up with Mario Williams and the commissioner and all that kind of stuff with the Texans jersey. Everybody talking about it, the analysts up there. And I know you guys have paid attention to everything that's gone on all morning. I mean, if there's only one, maybe there's 2 people that think that they did the right thing here. It's almost hands down that everybody is saying, I can't believe that they would pass on a player like Bush.
Well, talking to Charlie Castle, seeing an interview that he was, doing this morning.
Right.
He was saying for their football team, all teams say that, for their football team, here they were, 8 games last year, they were leading by halftime, and their defense so-called let them down. It was because they were saying they couldn't, sack the quarterback. So they're saying, how can we get pressure on teams within our division, like Peyton Manning.
Score more touchdowns.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I'm saying what he was basically saying was that why they were going more with Mario Williams, trying to get more pressure on the quarterback.
Money. I agree with Archie totally. The agent messed this deal up with Houston. I agree with him 100%. Had nothing to do with football, had everything to do with dough. Money.
That he just played their hand and basically the Texans called their bluff, right?
They overplayed it.
Well, when you get to players of this caliber, Mike and Bobby, and you get to the money levels that have gotten this high, To us, a couple $1 million is big, major, if not astronomical. At this level, a couple $1 million is not that big of a deal, or should not be that big of a deal for players of this caliber.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I mean, there has to be some type of structure.
Right.
And like Archie was saying, I think the 20% was just too much. But, like Reggie Bush falling in the Saints' lap, I mean, both on and off the field, to me, you couldn't have a more magnetic type player, considering what New Orleans is going through right now with the rebuilding process. Talk about a figurehead and get people excited about football, Reggie Bush.
They're showing Reggie Bush right now on the big screens, which we've got the screens, the big screens here at Draft Fest, here out on our airline, and I'm sure he's just waiting. The phones are ringing within the Saints facility.
Oh!
Here we are.
Now
Here we are
the stars.
ourselves.
We got
Being
the stars
shown.
now.
So give it to him, folks. Reggie, Reggie,
Reggie, Reggie, Reggie, Reggie.
a live shot.
And then they cut away
at Draft Fest.
and then we're allowed in the
They've
cutaway.
gone to the break now, but Draft Fest 2006 has just made it nationwide.
Y'all made it nationwide, folks.
You said last night on the show, Bobby, as soon as we got word that this was done, this was official, and really that kind of came down to about 6 o'clock when John McClain was saying it in Houston that they're going with Mario Williams. You started saying maybe they ought to start camping out right now. I saw some folks tailgating out there when I pulled in. I think folks were camping out. If not, they got here really, really early. Now they're tailgating for Draft Fest.
Well, I tell you what, I even said this last night. If the Saints don't take Reggie Bush, it might be anarchy. We might storm the Bastille, storm the building. So I think Saints officials realize what Reggie Bush, brings to this team, not only on the field, but off the field from a PR perspective. I mean, fans don't tend to get excited about linemen. They get excited about skilled people. So the situation here in New Orleans.
Score a touchdown.
Yeah, guys that scored touchdowns. So the situation that the Saints are in now, Reggie Bush is a no-brainer.
Unless you get a monster deal.
Unless you got some ridiculous Herschel Walker.
Unless they bring Mike Ditka back out of retirement to do something. Well, listen, that could happen. I was here when Mike did it the first time.
And I'll say it again. If that was going to happen, or even
would have
already happened with Houston. I mean, or Houston. I mean, they've gotten literally no bites at all on anybody wanting to trade in to get this guy to begin with at 1. And the difference between 1 and 2. The money, yes, there is a difference, but it's not that big of a difference.
Right, and some fans have asked me, well, why do you want to take Reggie Bush? I'm not saying a majority. I'm talking about 10, 50% when you have Deuce McAllister if he's healthy. Well, you have to look at what USC. I mean, come on.
Why did they recruit Lindell White?
Yeah, they got Reggie Bush. They had Lindell White, Reggie Bush. You never can have too many quality running backs. It's a matter of the coach using his imagination and getting their hands on the ball.
And the injury factor.
Yeah.
The running backs go down quickly. We saw what happened to Deuce. We see what happened to Ricky in the past. You never have enough good running backs in the NFL. You never have enough.
No, you never. And I think what Reggie Bush brings to the table more than any other running back, very similar to Marshall Faulk, versatility. And you look at him in a national championship game against Oklahoma. Last year, the very first play, they have him at wideout, they throw him a quick slant. No, what I like as a quarterback when you see Reggie Bush is when you get a pre-snap read and read that man-to-man coverage, first thing you look at, okay, who's guarding Reggie Bush? Well, it's an immediate mismatch. All you got to do is just hang in there and get his hands on the ball, and he'll make the plays.
Well, let me ask you. If I turn the table and you're the defensive coordinator, and I have Deuce McAllister in the backfield, and I put Reggie in the slot, who do you have covering him? Another cornerback?
Yeah, you almost have to have a cornerback because he's like a wide receiver. You can't dare put a linebacker on him because he'll break his ankle.
That's right. Exactly.
Ed Werder right now being shown, and he quoted Tom Benson earlier as saying, get the deal done, and now they're even flashing up on the screen. Saints owner says, pay Bush. A lot of concerns on whether or not the Saints would do it, whether Benson would do it. I can tell you, folks, when Tom Benson heard this morning, some of the analysts saying, well, you never know. Tom Benson might not want to pay this guy. He's the kind of man that when you rile him up, that riled him up. And when you rile him up, he immediately said to Mickey Loomis and said to Sean Payton, get it done. It's just a matter of time now. There's actually 8 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. for the Saints. And whether or not they have phone numbers or getting phone calls remains to be seen. Anybody going to put together a deal? I don't know. What about the riled up there, Mike?
Mike, what you said about getting riled up?
I said ask Lee Zurich if he doesn't get riled up.
Yeah. Sal Palantonio also, who last night he reported that they had already made contact and their intentions were to pick Reggie Bush. Ed Werder reporting that they had already made contact with the agent.
And there's no doubt, Kenny, that Mike Tannenbaum wants to make a deal with the Saints.
Well, and the deal that's on the table from the Jets, and I'm sure Palantonio is saying this right now, is they're offering both their picks, 4 and 29.
And what the Saints want is extra. What the Saints want is extra.
And then you have to think with the Saints want extra, but on the Jets defense, they're looking at, Curtis Martin's getting old. Not that he's that feature-pounding running back, but that's why in New York, if you look at the paper, in the New York Times, I think on the back page they had Get Bush. So they're getting a lot of press just like New Orleans is about, taking Reggie Bush.
So here's the question, Mike. We know at 4 is an impact on all-world type player, no matter who it is, right? It's going to be an all-world player. Will 29?
Well, 29 in this draft will be a very good player. A very, very good player.
From the Jets, Mike, wouldn't you agree if you got the 4, 29, and early second-round pick, all those guys should start for your team? And that
pretty
type
quick.
of trade? Yeah.
Pretty quick. In this draft, no question.
So I'm not trying to burst nobody's bubble, but I'm telling you, the Saints are listening right now. And they're trying to see if somebody's going to give them the house. Kind of like with, remember the Dallas Cowboys got all those picks?
Reggie is on the phone.
Reggie's on the phone. That's the Jets fans up there. I'm sure this all makes for good drama. This all makes for
good drama in New York, that's for sure.
All of the Saints fans under the tent here at Draft Fest, they're telling the Saints officials, hang up the phone on the Jets, hang up the phone.
Reggie Bush is not moved yet, has not stood up. 6:14 still on the clock. Our own Hokie Gaijon has joined us here on the set, folks. Hokie, what will you do if something happens and they don't pick Reggie Bush? Are you going to...
He's going to follow us out of here.
Hey, listen, please don't tear down the poles, the tent. We're going to all go storm the building, but we all in this together.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah, we with y'all.
We with
you guys.
And they're still talking up there. 5:42 technically, for those of you who can't see the screen, on the clock right now.
But no, what I was saying earlier, Kenny, I mean, the Saints listening because the ridiculous deal, you remember the Cowboys won a few Super Bowls by getting all those draft picks from the Vikings with the Troy Aikmans and the Emmitt Smith because of the Herschel Walker deal.
Right.
So the Saints, I think, are listening to see if the Jets are going to be ridiculous. Wouldn't you agree with that,
Hokie, do those days, and when you were scouting and part of the front office and part of this organization, crazy things happen? Have those days disappeared, or will we still see days like that of the craziness?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you want to listen to. You ask the head coach, are you going to take Reggie Bush? And he goes, absolutely. And then you listen to Mickey Loomis, and he says, well, we're gonna stay on the clock, and we're gonna entertain all our offers and everything else. So, I mean, the way that Sean Payton came out and said it, I mean, it leads me to believe that it would have to be something ridiculous.
You told me when he said it, the way he said it, Jim Henderson almost fell out of the chair.
Yeah, his eyes was as big as my fist. And he said, I can't believe that just came out of his mouth.
No. So, I mean, you would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't do it. Listen on the phone, listen to the deals, yes.
You know what, me right now, waiting these few minutes, like, I feel more nervous right now than even when I was, like, playing. I mean, I'm having almost an anxiety attack. Okay, well, what are they going to do? Because
don't catch no fit around me now.
Because, Mike, Mike, what I'm saying, the longer they wait, you're like saying, okay, why aren't you stepping up to the podium and saying like you did?
With the second choice in the 2006 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Reggie Bush, running back, USC.
We got gumbo in the field.
Reggie!
Start scheduling the Reggie Bush show.
By the way, I wonder if the people nationally that are watching this, that have already seen this, and I'm sure they'll show it again, what they think. I wonder what people think of New Orleans now.
Hey, football fans, passion, that's what they think. It's already Reggie Bush for governor. Before he even steps on the field, Reggie Bush for governor. Mayor, whatever he wants to do.
Reggie Bush wearing the Saints jersey for holding up the Saints #1 jersey, which I'm sure will become a number 5.
I tell you what,
that's his number. So there'll be awful lot of Jim Henderson calls of 9 to 5.
Now, it'll be interesting to see, does the league let him wear that 5? Because it's
because of the running back number issue.
Because of the number.
Yeah, you've got to wear 20s.
Yeah.
Listen,
you got to be in the 20s.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to make a lot of money on that 5 jersey.
Hey,
Bobby and I thought about that.
Well, 25 is Fred McAfee. I'm sure Freddie would give up the number.
I think they'll make a deal for that.
If Fred can get another year,
He's got another year.
Yeah. Fred's always willing to make a deal, Kenny.
They're showing Reggie Bush right now as in his Superman abilities.
I mean, Reggie Bush, what he's like, the best thing since sliced bread?
Well,
I mean,
put it this way, Bob. I've only seen 2 guys I would compare as a runner to him. One was Bo Jackson. When he came out of Auburn, he was a man out on the field. A different style runner, but he was a man, and Barry Sanders. The most amazing stat about Reggie Bush to me is in 39 games, he scored 42 touchdowns. 16 of those rushing touchdowns were for 31.9 yards average.
That's what we were talking about this morning. A guy that can score from anywhere on the field. And I mean, when you're talking 32 yards right there. That's a long way to outrun defensive backs.
And that won't happen regularly in the NFL because of the athlete, but that goes to show you what he has done at a high level when teams have went up against him, schemed against him, and nobody's been able to find a way to stop it.
Pokey, what would you have said? You'd have scouted this young man and come back. Would you have said anything other than he's had, I mean, I don't even have to talk. He's that good.
I would have probably walked into the draft room and said, you know, we're picking at number 2. We don't have a shot at him. Because he's that good. I mean, you figure if there's anybody drafted in front of you, that was the guy.
And then if I'm the GM and I say, okay, but how good is he on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I never scouted anybody that good. I saw Ricky Williams, but I never saw anybody that good.
He's like the Bull Derrick of the NFL. He's a 10. He's a living fantasy. Come on.
We will continue with more of WWL AM and FM and WWL.com's Draft Fest 2006 right after this.
Today, football on WWL.
Welcome back to Draft Fest 2006. Bobby Hebert, Hokie Gaijon, Mike Detillier, and I'm Kenny Wilkerson. Talk about Lance in your pants. Holy cow.
Well,
Bobby, Mike.
Kenny, the big story is, for people listening, Vince Young was the 3rd overall pick going to Tennessee, picking him ahead of Matt Leinart.
And now that leaves the Jets to take Leinart, the guy they want anyway.
Well, we'll see if they pick Leinart or they go with the big lineman, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. That'll be the interesting pick.
Well, what I would do, I mean, I want to talk first about Vince Young. I mean, Mike, you know, you had him, Mr. Excitement. I mean, you look at the national championship, he was the hero.
He was my #1 rated corner.
He had awe and shock talent, and it's perhaps the most debated player, you know, before the draft. But I think it's just like Mr. Excitement, you know, get things done. I think, you know, everybody thought maybe Norm Child that they were going to go Leinart, the whole thing. But look, Steve McNair's been there. You know, same type of mold. Maybe, I don't know, like long-term, if they're going to get rid of, you know, McNair and that they're going to go with Kerry Collins. They're bringing there, but Vince Young is the future of the Titans.
Okay, in regards to Reggie Bush and the New Orleans Saints, both you guys, Bobby first, what does this simply mean to this football team?
That Reggie Bush, I mean, I think he means wins. You know, put people in the stands, get everybody excited. Right now, more than anything, part of the rebuilding process of New Orleans. Reggie Bush, a big part of that, and it couldn't have been a better scenario as far as getting people excited about Saints football.
Mike, what does it mean? And then, second part for you, what next?
Explosiveness, the ability to score anywhere on the field, and when you play 9 games in a dome, 8 in the Superdome, 1 in the Atlanta Dome, he's a guy that can change the game in one play. Right now, though, their emphasis has to be on defense. Afterwards, I think you got to go defense. Linebacker, middle linebacker would be the perfect fit with that second-round pick.
Bobby, I know that what next will depend on who's there, but no matter who's there, are you picking a linebacker?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but how about this scenario, Mike?
Thank you, Bobby.
Mike, I agree with you about the linebacker, but what if you had a cornerback, a top shutdown corner, maybe that slip, that's ranked higher than the linebacker? Do you go in that direction, or do you still take the linebacker?
One, I don't think a cornerback's going to slip.
Okay, because they were saying
they're going to be a big run.
Yeah, in the first round, they're going to have 8 to 10, cornerbacks taken.
Okay.
So my Odell Thurman this year, I've said this, is Abdul Hodge, and I know Buddy will like that. It's got a good corner, Abdul the tent maker, Abdul Hodge from University of Iowa. Like you said, I think either Abdul Hodge or DeQuell Jackson from Maryland, if they slip to that spot, would be just tackling machines for the Saints.
I agree with you.
All right. Are the Jets going to take Ferguson? Or what do you think the Jets are going to do? You nailed it pretty good last year, especially all the way through the first round.
To be honest with you, I think that their lean is to Ferguson. But there's a lot of pressure for them to pick Matt Leinart. But their lean all along has been to Brickashaw Ferguson.
Well, if Mike,
because they have nobody at tackle.
If they were to take the Brickashaw Ferguson, that means they have to be confident that maybe Pennington's going to maybe come back, and then also confident maybe in Ramsey. And even though he hasn't really, done anything, he's had some starts with the Redskins in the NFL, but they'd have to feel confident if they go with Ferguson over Leinart that one of those two quarterbacks is going to get the job done.
Or more confident that Brody Croyle from Alabama would be there in the second round.
Oh, and take him there, yes. Yeah.
And so
I know you never thought that this would ever happen.
No, not with Bush to the Saints.
Okay,
no.
So with that said, is there any possibility, because of the tumbling and the things that have already taken place, and Young now going at 3, and who knows what's going to happen here in the next 10 picks or so, could Winston Justice possibly?
No, he's not going to tumble that.
Would you have thought, and did you think that Darren Howard ever would have slipped to where he was?
I had him ranked as a second round.
Yeah, and Kenny, the reason I heard Winston Justice, even though he got in trouble off the field, with the plastic gun incident, that teams were pleased with his interview, that was in the past. It's kind of one-time thing. It was a stupid thing. He was very apologetic. So I like you said, Winston Justin, he won't be available for that second pick, that he'll be going, right after the Brickashaw Ferguson.
I said this before, the man upstairs didn't make that many people that big, that fast, that strong.
And to talk about Reggie Bush and what he means, to football, I was looking at this. There's a lot of old school guys out there. The combination of Reggie Bush and Lindell White at USC. You look now, Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush. To show you the impact, now all you old school football guys, y'all remember Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside at Army. Listen to this. To show you the impact that Reggie Bush and Lindell White made at USC will be talked about for years to come. They shared the tailback position for 3 years, and the two combined for 99 career touchdowns, breaking the NCAA record of 97 touchdowns set by Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside, Army's Glenn Davis and Doc Blanchard in 1943 to 46. So looking at that, that shows you what Reggie Bush was able to do in college football.
Folks, joining us here at Draft Fest 2006, former Saint Steve Court and Big Stan Brock. Both of you guys, we're going to talk to you both at the same time. Steve, start with you. In your mind, you follow this, all you guys follow this. What does this mean to you? What does this mean to this organization?
Well, I think first of all, you got to look at this is probably a once in a 15-year kind of player. And anytime you get a chance to get somebody that kind of talent, all it can do is enhance what you already have. And I think it'll be a good compliment, not only to Breeze, but to McAllister.
Not scouting him and not seeing him in person, but only seeing the highlights. Have you seen enough to know that, as you said, a once-in-a-lifetime type of guy?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, he's a great combination of a guy that can do it all. You know, he can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and when he gets a chance with the ball, he does great things. So
we're excited.
Saints coach Sean Payton.
We're excited about obviously our draft pick. You know, this time of the year, everyone talks about, you know, we got our guy and we got the most highly rated player on the board, and you guys do a good job of working through that, trying to evaluate the selection. And in this case, we got our guy and we got the highest rated player on the board. And the scenario came up. A lot of us, every one of us, goes through all these specific scenarios. And this scenario that developed probably was one that we covered, but maybe not as much as some of the others. So we're extremely excited. He brings a ton of versatility to our offense. He's a great person, someone with a lot of character. All those things we're looking for, and we've continued to bring up as we acquire new players for this team. So we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to evaluate the players we bring in. But he's someone that I know gives us a lot of flexibility. There'll be a lot of personnel groupings for us. There'll be the ability for us to put he and Deuce in the same backfield. I know there'll be a lot of questions in regards to two backs, and those are good problems to have, and we're looking forward to it.
You're listening to Saints coach Sean Payton talking about Reggie Bush.
Well, you know, again, everyone right at the top of this draft felt like they were going to have a chance at a fantastic football player and a guy that had a great career, and so this just happened to slip a different direction. And Mario, to his credit, was selected by Houston, and our good fortune was to have the opportunity to select Reggie Bush. So, you know, I know that as an organization, ownership, everyone involved in the personnel, coaching staff, these are exciting times, not only for this group that we talked about, but also for the city, for you guys, and everyone in this region. You know, here's another player that brings some excitement, has got a good smile on his face, is someone that we feel strongly about, just not only on the field but off the field, and that's important.
Saints coach Sean Payton addressing the media in the war room, talking about
he's extremely excited. He understands the importance of getting a jump on all the formations, the personnel groupings, the change in terminology, and no different than anyone this time of the year at the top of the draft. So, you know, I think he's excited. I think certainly the tough thing for a player as high a profile as Reggie is the months leading up to, and then all of a sudden the day comes and the selection comes, and so there's a lot of emotions there. And I think that's, I think that's oftentimes difficult for a player. But he's excited. A good visit on the phone, and you know, he's worked hard to get to this day, and he's deserving, certainly.
You're listening to Saints coach Sean Payton talking about the Saints selecting Reggie Bush with the number 2 overall pick in the 2006 NFL draft here on WWL.
No, I think. Honestly, I think the scenario is only, hey, if someone's interested in trading, you know, our phone line is open, and it would have to be substantial, and otherwise, we were extremely excited about it, and so I think every team that selects today kind of takes that approach before they're picked. They're ready to make a decision. They have a player in mind, and if someone comes up with something unique, they're all ears. But in this case, you know, it was. There was a lot of excitement in there.
Sean, if it had played out like everyone thought it was going to, were you guys going to take more?
You know, I think it's the worst thing for me to do is tell you right now who we would have taken if it had been another player and not Reggie Bush that fell to us. So I'd rather not get into that, because now we're just getting into, you know, how this thing would have played out. You know, congratulations certainly to Mario. Congratulations to Reggie Bush, and these guys all have been through, you know, this front end of the draft. These first 5, 6, 7 players are exciting players, and so there are going to be a lot of organizations along with ourselves that are excited about their selections, and we're at the top of that list.
You're listening to Saints coach Sean Payton addressing the media in the war room, talking about Reggie Bush.
We're excited about drafting Reggie Bush, and so he's going to be in a Saints uniform.
Can you say how many teams called Sean inquiring about?
You know, I think when it was all said and done, the heavy interest probably most was what was reported the Jets because of where they were picking and what they had to offer. And at the end, I think that things worked out. And in our case, we're thrilled to death.
So you never close, right?
Yeah, I don't think so, no.
Sean, when you found out last night...
Saints head coach Sean Payton addressing the media, talking about Reggie Bush.
Well, you know, it's an exciting day for me as a head coach because this is the first draft for me as a head coach. So last night was going to be difficult anyway. This morning, it was more this morning, just kind of tossing and turning and knowing that we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Some of the things that we want to do offensively now will be real specifically tailored to our talent, you know, and Deuce McAllister, Reggie Bush, our receivers, our quarterback. These are all good problems to have, and we're excited about it, I know, as a staff and as an organization. So,
have you talked to Deuce?
Not yet, no. We'll be in touch with our players, and we've had a great off-season to date. I mean, our off-season program and the players that have been working hard, lifting weights and running, has been outstanding. And these are the investments that we feel like you have to make to win football games in the fall. And so we're taking these steps like we talked about all along. And we'll continue today to improve our team, bringing the right people in here that'll represent this city, this ownership, and this team well. And that's been our goal from the beginning, and that's been really what we've been looking for.
Sean, you talked about objective packaging. Have you had a guy...
You're listening to Saints coach Sean Payton.
Well, when I was in college, I had a chance to coach Marshall Faulk. I was his coach one season, and then I was the quarterback coach at San Diego State, and he presented mismatch problems. You know, they give you a threat out of the backfield as a receiver, and that's obviously advantageous. In New York, you know, we had Tiki
Kenny,
Barber.
We'll send it back to you.
We went to the Super Bowl in 2000.
Saints head coach Sean Payton wrapping up here, addressing the media.
Yeah, 43 to 46 in that round, and then Reggie Bush was part of that, and they would have 99 touchdowns over their career.
Once again, Bobby Hebert, Mike Detillier, Stan Brock, and Steve Court here at Draft Fest 2006. Go ahead, Mike. The one thing you got to look at it, both of them gave up their senior seasons.
Yeah, right.
They broke that record and didn't play as a senior. At that time, you couldn't play as a freshman. So I guess that was the
kind of the 2 years, kind of the balance.
Can you imagine if those guys would have played one more year of college football, what type of rushing records, touchdown records they could have accomplished?
Listen, Reggie Bush, when you look at the highlight film of him, I'm looking at one game against Oregon. I mean, they had a defensive back. I'm not talking about some stiff, you know, nose guard or something. Defensive back breaks down. He juked him, Barry Sanders-like. Looked like he almost broke his ankle on the play. I mean, if it had been one-handed touch, he didn't even, touch him. How many times have you seen a national championship game against Texas when all of a sudden you see three guys, Michael Huff being one of them, who's projected to maybe go in the top 10 picks, had the angle on him, and they didn't even touch him.
Right.
Well, he just turned the corner and just jumped over.
Guys, how about a guy like Michael Huff, who's a first-rounder, who has the angle on him 20 yards already downfield? Okay, linebackers who have the angle on him at the point of attack, in which he just blows by them. Huff's 20 yards downfield with the angle and doesn't even touch him. He flies into the end zone.
Well, there's a huge difference of having the angle on you and me and then having the angle on Reggie Bush. Because the angle is one thing, that just means that you can get there.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do once you get there? So angle is one thing, but he does have that speed, and if you are that corner and you're running at him at that angle, you have to be prepared for him to make a cut and come back.
You know, the thing
and
is,
so it's not as simple as simply having the angle at a straight line runner.
you know, the straight ahead speed that he has is exceptional. However, he can make moves at full speed, which is the thing that just astonishes people, is the fact that he can cut.
No, you know the old saying, cutter and a dime. You know, like the old saying, cutter and a dime. They'd say that to Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Well, Reggie Bush can cut on a dime.
It's that
so he
zero to
moves-
six.
The thing you got to make sure
That 0 to 60 ability.
So,
the thing is true though. Southern Cal, don't take everything about it's Reggie Bush. They had a pretty solid offensive line. They got 5 minutes to play.
You guys are missing that Hokie Gajon is standing behind y'all saying that he makes those moves. Stan, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming up and Steve,
Thanks,
thank
Kenny.
you very much. We will continue with more of Draft Fest 2006. Bobby Hebert, Hokie Gajon, Mike Detillier, I'm Kenny Wilkerson. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
On Monday's Spud Show, United States Senator David Vitter takes your calls. Talk about
6 NFL draft. The New Orleans Saints select Reggie Bush, running back, USC.
Glad you joined us for WWL AM and FM and WWL.com's Draft Fest 2006. Brought to you in part by the Louisiana Lottery, the Zephyrs, Satellite Center, and by Zapardo Supermarket. Now, back to football on WWL.
Welcome back to Draft Fest 2006. Along with Bobby Hebert and Hookie Gajon and Mike Cecilia, I'm Kenny Wilkerson. A monster crowd. Bobby, very similar to the monster crowd that we saw a couple of weeks ago just next door in the stadium for the Tulane-LSU game. I mean, if anybody wonders about things going on here in New Orleans and whether there's going to be support, all you had to do was go to that game or have gone out to the Zurich Classic in the last couple days to see the crowds out there, or even the response here today. Especially, I'm sure that the word coming out last night that Bush was there for the Saints' help, but we were going to have a huge crowd no matter what, because this draft has been so highly anticipated for months now.
Listen, we're going to look back on this 2006 draft and say all the things that went wrong in the past. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'll tell you, it'll be maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, and we'll say that was the difference. 2006 draft and the Texans' stupidity put the Saints over the edge.